So if you're putting votes up, but you're not leveraging it for anything meaningful besides some staff positions,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a great critique, though. We as a bloc, the black voting bloc,
It
you
is
can
the
say we're
block.
not a
Let's be
monolith.
serious. It's the block. It's
Yeah,
a block.
we have to be more serious, or we can separate ourselves, right? The black left voting bloc, right?
Okay.
Like, I'm just saying, like, we can splice it down a little further. But seriously, that's a great point, Nick, because we're just like, well, he's not far enough. But that quote from Rosa Clemente that I saw the other day about leveraging, electoral politics, the further, maybe, Black Lives Matter activists, I use them as an example because they're the ones that are more famous for saying, he's not far enough, we're not going to endorse, we're not going to get into this. But like, you get involved in what's going on, because then you have the greatest ability to actually effectuate what's happening, the verbiage, the language, the conversation. Like, okay, yeah, we had, some opposition early on, and it forced him to have to change his course correction. But I really think, and Ben, I owe you a piece. I did my gun piece for tonight, but I owe you a piece on this. But I really think that there is an overestimation on how much that second interruption in Seattle actually played in terms of policy and what Senator Sanders is already doing. I know from sitting on a conference call with staff, with people from Netroot who participate in Netroot's action, with other activists, immigration, people. There were Palestinian rights activists on the call. It was a people of color call that was had like a while before the Seattle thing, in between Netroot Seattle. So when Seattle happens and it's all, well, he hasn't responded, he's not reaching out, he's not listening, that's simply not true. Maybe your particular faction was not talked to because you don't want to be a part of electoral politics, but there are several of us. I was on a phone call with like 300 people who were actually engaged, on these issues. And there was a meaningful opportunity at that point. That was when he was launching, his Latino initiative, his African American initiative. They're like, well, the next day he came out with his racial justice platform. You think he just did like a college student cramming and came up with that masterful piece of work overnight? Like, come on now. Like, let's just be realistic. And so I think you're absolutely right. We don't leverage. This is now the angst with Obama, right? Well, Obama's done something for everybody else, but not us. Everybody else had a set of clear issues on day one they wanted resolved. The LGBT community, we want marriage equality. Latinos, we want this. I mean, and he
And
might
guess
not
what?
have them
On top of
necessarily.
all that, let me ask, on top of all that,
Yeah.
they actually gave an ultimatum. Remember, the LGBT community was willing to withhold giving money. They weren't going to hold any more fundraisers. They weren't going to keep writing the checks unless they got what they wanted. That's how power works. Frederick Douglass said it best. Power concedes nothing without demand. It never has, and it never will. If you just keep voting for them no matter what they do, where is the demand? Who has the power in that relationship?
Right, and that's why when we're always stuck in this, but we got to vote for the Democrat.
Yep. Let's take this caller. So Eric Boehlert, whatever his name is, this surrogate for Hillary Clinton, said, quote, subtweeted me and said, the fact that Clinton has overwhelming black support is driving Sanders fans bonkers. Completely erasing the fact that I'm black, you fatuous prick, right? Change your glasses, look at your lens, and stop buying into this. Stop doubling down on this trope of everybody who supports Bernie Sanders is white. No. Anyway, I'm gonna.
But that's something else he should have said today, right? Because she tried to say that. Well, I have this diverse. I have this. Look, there are a lot of people who are not voting and engaged in the process. We all know plenty of black folks who can't stand Hillary, but they are not interested in voting at all because they don't believe that the system is going to let Bernie win.
It goes back exactly to what you guys were saying, and I was doing this over here, but I heard everything you said. It's this group. It's half the voting. Let's break it up into thirds, right? You got a third of the black voting bloc who just gives their vote away to the Democratic Party and doesn't ask any concessions other than a couple of key jobs for their best and their brightest, right? Then you have a third of the black voting populace who are so radical and to the left that they just don't feel like anybody is ever good enough, anybody ever is going to do anything, so they just don't vote. And then you got those of us in the middle who like, all of y'all are crazy. Y'all need to be participating and you know, get something for your vote, and you got to vote to get something for your vote, and it's like this vast sea of nothingness that is happening. And in the absence of that political power, there's so many opportunities that we miss that we could leverage. Bobby called in about a month ago, and he said there's nobody who can get elected unless they get the black vote in the Democratic Party. And that is the absolute truth. Now, with that kind of political power, you mean to tell me all you need Hillary Clinton to do is show up and say black girls rock, and you're just going to give it away? That is the most asinine, piss-poor, backwards mentality that I ever seen in my life, my political.
Well, and it goes back to probably one of the first conversations you and I had about how, you know, Bernie Sanders has been forced to jump through all these hoops, right? Mm-hmm. These unimaginable hoops. You know, I understand that there's people take issue with the characterization that he allowed Black Lives Matter to speak. I mean, quite honestly, you know, you can mince those words and stuff. We can take issue with Killer Mike and other people's framing of the situation from Seattle, but the fact of the matter is, you were not arrested. You were not put out. You were not removed from that event. You did get to speak. Now, whether you had to forcibly take the stage, I mean, that's kind of what happens when you interrupt people. You have to, like, you know, force your way into something. But the fact that ultimately it was resolved with you getting the microphone, that is somebody conceding and allowing you to be there. Because he would have been well within his rights, or the organizer of the event would have been well within their rights to have them removed, or whether that's right or wrong. I'm not saying that would have been the right thing to do either. But this notion, he jumps through all these hoops unnecessarily. Where Hillary Clinton has been dismissive, she has had people removed. You know, she always has somebody else do her dirty work for her. I go back to, you know, there was the one attempt, late summer, early fall, when the young people, because they weren't even allowed into her event at first, right? She agreed to meet with them afterwards, you know, and that was excuse. Well, Bernie's the easier target because because Secret Service and security, we can't get to Hillary, or since he's so far left, you know, he's going to force her to move further on the issues. And that's ridiculous. Like, they have not been treated equally at all, particularly when we've already watched Hillary Clinton run for president, and we've watched how racist her and Bill can be. So if anything, she should be held to a higher standard.
It has to be her opponent. It better be. If anybody had to jump through hoops, it should be Hillary. But you got to understand now, the establishment is a hell of a drug. I got to get that soundbite of Rick James. It's a hell of a drug, because these are the same people. Let me choose my words carefully. Go to sleep, Benjamin. These are the same people who supported Hillary Clinton above Barack Obama in 2008. Don't let all these people who are feigning all this love over Obama, they only loved Obama when he started winning. I loved Obama before he even ran for president, when he was a little junior senator with a podcast back in around 2004.
Max was Obama for my son was Barack Obama for Halloween.
You know what I mean? So their love for Obama, and I'm talking about the black Democratic establishment to be sure, their love for Obama did not manifest until he started winning. Then they started to support Obama. John Lewis did not come out for Obama at first. He came out for Hillary Clinton first. James Clyburn.
And stood by. And with John Lewis, love John Lewis, the man, the myth and the legend. The man is flawed like any other man. And he stood by with some of the most racist stuff that was happening, and he did not shift until she lost South Carolina.
Exactly.
That's when he shifted.
Speaking of South Carolina, Jim Clyburn, he did not come out one way or the other. Many of these people, if you look at their timelines back in 2008, such as it was, especially on Facebook, they were saying this guy needs to wait his turn. It's Hillary Clinton's turn. These are black Democratic establishment who just got on board with Obama back into. Matter of fact, if you look at the race this week, there was an article from The Nation that shows that Hillary Clinton was leading amongst African Americans this same week in 2008. So all of this excitement over the support for Hillary Clinton, you have to understand this is a black Democratic establishment thing. They have always been enamored with the Clintons. They have always been enamored with access to power, and they have always been there, even at the expense of the first black president. And so we should not be so surprised that Bernie Sanders isn't getting the African American vote. We just need to be cognizant of the fact that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton has had the black Democratic establishment wrapped around their fingers as long as they've had the reins in power. And it's because it is about access to power. They want this power. They want these positions, and so they placate. They what's the word I'm looking for? They pander, or they're beholden to the Clintons, because the Clintons represent access to power for black people. And so, no, it is not such a huge statement to say that Hillary Clinton is winning the minority vote. Oh my God, Bernie Sanders has a minority problem. By that same exact logic, Barack Obama had a minority problem in 2008 because he was not winning the black vote at this point in 2008. Now,
Well, and I think
I got a caller who's been patient, and they've been so patient, I don't even have them on mute right now, and you don't even hear them. 826, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?